There is a quiet struggle many men carry, the pressure to be strong, composed, and unshaken, to hold everything together even when something inside is breaking. We talk a lot about toughness, discipline, and responsibility, but we talk far less about vulnerability, emotional truth, and balance. Welcome to Mind Over Masculinity, where we challenge outdated ideas of strength and explore what it really means to be grounded, healthy man in today's world. I am Yusuf, and today I'm joined by Birgitta, an empowerment coach and healer who works deeply with emotional healing, balance, and self responsibility. We are talking about men's mental health, why vulnerability is not weakness, and how balancing masculine and feminine energy can create real inner stability. If you have ever felt torn between being strong and being honest, this episode is for you. And with that, I welcome my guest, Bagita, to the show.
Yusuf, thank you so much for having me. I love that intro. It's so on point.
Thank you so much. Before we go into concepts and frameworks, I'm curious. When you reflect on your own journey, what made you realize how deeply unexpressed emotion shapes a person's life?
I've suffered trauma from a young age, right? And I kept everything bottled inside. And I mean, growing up in the 80s was very different, but it's society. We live in a created society where it's like you have to act a certain way, be a certain way, just to fit into the mold. And that's so much garbage. When it took me years to figure out that I too could be vulnerable because I was tough as nails. I would be trying on the inside, but I would wear a mask on the outside, and just power through everything that I went through, but not really healing. And when I started my healing journey, I really needed to learn to open up, and that's not easy. Yeah. Um, and they can say, yes, it's easy. You're right. It's easier for women than for men. But what you just said, there needs to be a balance between the feminine and the masculine. And that is the issue, right? When we talk about the masculine, it's being, it's doing, 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 go, go, go. And just going out there, but you're missing the nurturing, the nourishment, as I put it, from the feminine. And that's the balance. Yeah. And that's really important. And that's where the vulnerability comes in. And being vulnerable is not a weakness. It's,
Yeah.
it's being authentic with
Mm.
yourself. Yeah. And it's just dropping the mask and showing yourself as you are. And that is the big difference. And I had to learn that too. I really had to learn that. And I don't give a monkeys about society these days, right? I am me. And if people, I always say this, Yusuf, I'm like Marmite. You either hate me or love me or just can't be bothered with me. And that's okay. But I'm being true to myself, but I had to learn that and take responsibility for my life and, you know, return to that love for myself because I hated myself.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I took it out on myself. I wasn't eating, I had toxic relationships. I was very good at starving myself and I was working like a dog 7 days a week because I could keep the emotions at bay. And that's what a lot of men still do, right? They keep everything at bay because, oh, what happens when you're vulnerable?
True. There's a belief many men grow up with that emotional control means emotional suppression, that staying silent equals being strong. I want to know from what you have seen, where does that misconception start?
I think again, that's society, right? It starts with we get it from our parents, they got it from their parents, and they got it from their parents. And, it's a generational thing. But at some point, we all go through very tough experiences. And I know a lot of people have gone through a lot of pain in 2025 and even now. But it's just time to break the mold. It's being true to who you are, rather than being someone that you are not, because it's far more painful to be someone that you are not and putting up a pretense, so to speak. But it's a generational issue. It really is generational.
You often speak about masculine and feminine energies,
Yes.
not as gender roles, but as
Right.
inner dynamic. Yeah.
Mhm.
What happens internally when one side is overdeveloped and the other side is ignored?
Well, then you're out of balance, right? You're out of whack.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, but it's really all about healing ourselves, and rather than botting everything up, because the more we keep inside, yeah, the more of our emotions we keep inside, the more of the pain we keep inside, the more of it we become at a dis-ease within ourselves, and it will come out in some way, form, shape, or another. Yeah, because we are energy. And so talking about our emotions, communicating, it's just really important.
Mm.
Sorry, yeah, and that balance is just really important. Uh, and so what, like for me, when I was too much in my masculine, because that was me most of my life, you know, until I started to heal. For me, it was all go, 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 go. I'm putting everything up, and I was only putting myself in the boxing ring. I was only, and I ended up hurting myself, even in the toxic relationships that I was in, right? Because that's what I attracted.
Mm.
And we attract people, we attract experiences because they are reflections of things that we need to heal within ourselves. So, in that sense, people are our greatest teachers and they trigger us. And it's like, well, rather than potting it up, it's like, hey, wait a minute, why is this happening for me, not to me? Why is this happening for me? And how can I change? What do I need to do within myself to change? What do I need to heal?
Yeah. You know, that imbalance explains why so many men feel driven yet disconnected, productive on the outside, restless, numb on the inside. It's not the lack of effort, it's the lack of integration.
Yes. And it's also not what we think as when we talk about real vulnerability, Yusuf, it's not this what you call pseudo needy vulnerability, but it's actually staying true to ourselves. Yeah. So even for men, right? It's when they stand up in their masculine energy, that means it's like they're standing tall and saying this with conviction. But actually, vulnerability is not being weak. It's that softness, as I call it. The softness is the capacity to be present, in the now and open. Yeah, and open. Um, when it may be much easier for them to push with aggression, but being present in the moment and that softness.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay for men to let the tears flow. Doesn't mean that you don't have a backbone because you do, but it's okay to let your feelings out, right? So women can do it. So what's wrong with why can't men do it?
Yeah. And how does this imbalance tend to show up in everyday life, in relationships, work, or even their sense of self?
I mean, it can show up anywhere, of course. For men especially, it feels like that it's like this loss of power, and
Mm.
that's absolute garbage, right?
Yeah.
Um, and for them, it's all about how do I put it? It's it's showing up, but it's not being again in the workplace. I know this. I work in oil and gas, so I see this every single day with men, very driven, very much in their mind rather than heart. Yeah. And it's something that I have talked about. It's something like even there, but it's like they think I live in La La Land, which is fine. But I always say it's so important, even in the workplace, to show up as your authentic selves, to just be yourself rather than showing a version of yourself. And look what happens in the corporate workplace. How many people get burnt out? I'm not talking about just about women, but also about men. And I've seen it. I have seen it because there is just no proper communication. And that's the same within relationships. It's communication because they don't know how to express themselves.
For men listening right now and who realize that they have been emotionally armored for years,
Yes.
what's a grounded first step they can take?
Out there, right? To be unapologetically vulnerable, right? Being yourself is doesn't mean that you're unmanned, so to speak.
So, for a man who is listening right now and they realize that they have been emotionally armored for years, what's a grounded first step they can start?
Well, I always say the most important thing is to look at yourself. Yeah, take a good look at yourself, at the reflection staring back in the mirror, and take responsibility for your life. Yeah, if you are not feeling peachy, right? It's very black and white. If you're not feeling peachy in your own skin, ask yourself why. Yeah.
Mm.
And I always say if you get really stuck, then it's okay to ask for help because I'm sorry, all these, I call them negative, like, retro negatives, right? These emotions, the shame, the fear, the guilt, that you have to be a certain way, you have to man up. That's all, I think that's baloney. Throw that out the window. That's hard to shift that conditioning, to shift that programming, but you need to start somewhere, right? Because if you do not feel at ease within yourself, it's often that we it's often that our life doesn't flow accordingly,
Mm.
right? We have problems, we have issues. And if they keep repeating themselves, again, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what changes do I need to make within myself? How can I heal? Um, do I deserve a better life? Of course you are. You deserve a better life. And does my life hold value? Of course it holds value.
Yes, indeed. You know, that emphasis on safety and pacing matters
Yes.
because vulnerability isn't about dumping everything at once. It's about building trust with yourself first,
Yes.
then gradually with others.
Yes. I agree. I agree. And it's that trust, right? It's learning to trust ourselves. My dad, my dad, when I was a kid, I mean, he passed away in 1988 when I was 14. But he always used to say to me and my sister, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. And how you were like, ha 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 ha. Get it then. But now I do. I do. Because how many people can really tell themselves, to their reflection in the mirror, I love you? That's a tough thing to say. Yeah, but and then it's taken me many years because I hated the very sight of me for many, many years. And that's only because of the trauma I went through. But now Yusuf, I actually have learned to love myself. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect, right? I'm still learning every single day. But it's okay to tell yourself that you love yourself.
Yeah, I agree. It does not mean that I am perfect. It just means that now when make mistakes, I'm peace. I have peace with it. I'm calm. It's okay for me.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And it's really important just to have that emotional openness and self awareness. Yeah. Because we love to deviate away. We love to play whack a mole with our emotions. But it's really important to just, have that self awareness. Right. That means that we embrace rather than, as I said, suppress our emotions. And acknowledge that that true strength comes from being present in the moment, and being compassionate.
Many men try opening up once, feel misunderstood or judged, and that and then shut down again. How can someone stay open without feeling exposed or foolish?
I think that is, I understand. Yeah. Again, that's a societal thing, right? I think we need to give one another space, room to breathe, and we need to listen, not hear, listen without judgment. Yeah, because people can be very opinionated, and that's the first thing. Uh, and that is a tough one. And I think when men cry, I have no issue with it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, but it's really just, even if you cry and somebody doesn't like it, still cry. Embrace it, embrace who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just beautiful.
Instead of that reframes setbacks very beautifully. Instead of they being the proof that vulnerability fails, they become part of learning experience. Strength is not
Yes.
avoiding pain, it's learning how to navigate it wisely.
Yes, I agree. And it's also about opening up the heart, right? The heart space. And I always call that the lotus flower, the lotus within the heart, or the lotus flower within the heart, and creating that loving connection with ourselves, releasing that fear-based need to dominate or overpower. And fear simply means false evidence appearing real, right? Because it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be for listeners who want to learn more about your work or connect with you, where is the best place for them to find you?
They can find me on my website, powersoulhealing.com, where they can find my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and my Facebook.
Perfect. And all these links are in the show notes. So, listeners, just go and check those out. B, is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
As I said, being vulnerable is a beautiful thing. And when we admit that we need help, the key is actually to accept it from others, which is okay. And yes, I know that men often resist because they fear that vulnerability. But as I just said, fear means false evidence appearing real, or it also means what I've been given. It means either falling endlessly or a rising revolutionary. Yeah, that's a big, big difference. Um, and even if society uses it against you, just be yourself because you're not weak. Yeah, it really means that you have taken accountability and you're saying, you know what, sod this. I'm healing from these male wounds, so to speak. I'm breaking out of these limited identities that have encouraged suppression because, these experiences that we go through, it's just a story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more we heal, the more wholesome we become within ourselves.
Yeah.
So always be you, not who the world wants you to be.
Yes. If today's conversation resonated with you, sit with it. You don't need to fix everything at once. Awareness itself is a form of strength, and real strength comes from balance, not denial. When masculine drive and feminine awareness work together, men don't become weaker, they become whole. We thank you all who are listening and my guest, Birgitta, to spending this time with us on Mind Over Masculinity. Share this episode with someone who might need permission to feel, and we'll see you next time.